Hello, everyone, and welcome into BTB Now. It is March 5th, 2018. And if you've noticed in the bottom right corner, Jason Cantor is not here tonight. Filling in is Addison Hunsker. We also got Nick Bogatis, per usual. Now, Nick, it's not football season, so we're all very intrigued to hear what has been going on in your life.
Not much, honestly. I got an A on my math test today, so it was very exciting. What else?
Good A's. Good.
I've been watching some college basketball. Right now I'm watching Iona Fairfield. The second night in a row I'm watching Fairfield basketball, which is definitely unlike me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to some more college basketball, and I hear baseball starting up soon, so that should be fun. Also, the combine is going on, so I'm actively not watching that, and just trolling MLB Twitter online. So that's been fun.
I'm kind of curious, what were you up to yesterday? Just a personal. Just trying to
What
see
was
what
I
you're
up to yesterday? I pretty much watched college basketball all day.
So it was pretty much a nice,
I'm
relaxing
probably
day.
okay. So clearly you didn't read my blog because I was all into the whole lifestyle thing last week, and especially when I wrote the blog. But since the Derek Brassard trade, it's just given me this whole new outlook on life, and the Penguins are big again. We had a little bit of a skid there against Boston, but I mean Matt Murray's been out, and but we had a big win in overtime against the Islanders, and I haven't checked the score yet, but we're playing the Flames right now, so hopefully we get a win there. And a healthy playoff run there, and but been all in on Wisconsin basketball, this past week, so that's been a little rough. And I'm all in on not the Pirates and the Sixers, by the way. Sixers have been playing too, so that's been fun.
Whatever you're saying is being destroyed by your audio. Dismantled by some ringing, buzzing.
Yes, very, very poor quality. Very poor quality.
Addison, since it's been a month since we talked to you on this show.
Yeah.
Last time we talked to you, you were about to hop on a train, head down to Philadelphia to join the Crazies for the football championship of the Professional Football League in America.
Yeah.
And it went rather swimmingly.
It did. That was very, very good team. Very good day for the professional football team that plays in Philadelphia.
Yes. So I think we pretty much covered the excitement on that. I think we put that to bed. Obviously, if you follow at Hunsker11 on Twitter,
correct,
you've been exposed to the excitement that you've been going through the past month. Now, the new football year is nearly upon us, which means I'm going to start paying attention to football again. I took a little month off to really enjoy the excitement. Big decision looming for the Eagles. Nick Foles, if you are Howie Roseman, how are you handling the situation?
Well, all the reports seem to indicate that they're not shopping him. They're just listening to offers, and they were offered a second-round pick by an AFC team, presumably either the Broncos or Jets, I believe, were the two teams that I think it could have been. And from what I'm reading, they're asking for a lot. They're starting it at a first and fourth round pick at the minimum, which is what they obviously gave up for Bradford. Obviously, the two situations are different. And, I mean, from a football perspective, obviously Nick Foles is better than Sam Bradford, and you would hope to get more than a first and a fourth. But at the same time, that was very situational, and the Vikings desperately needed, just an option once Bridgewater went down right before the season started, which is why I think the Eagles were able to pry out more than what they probably would have been able to get just by trading Bradford on a typical day. So I think that was definitely taking advantage of the market, and with how deep this QB draft class is, and with Kirk Cousins and guys like Bridgewater, Keenum on the market, I don't know how much they'll be able to get for him. And we'll see what they do. I mean, if the reports are true and they're not actively shopping him, that that must mean they either A, know that Wentz isn't going to be healthy in time for training camp in week 1, or B, just know how valuable it was to have Foles on the team last year. Because, when you're starting quarterback, my friend made the analogy, it's like having fire insurance. Like, no one likes to pay for fire insurance on their house. But then if your house burns down, you want to have fire insurance. So the Eagles, the house got burnt down with 3 weeks left in the regular season, and the Eagles had fire insurance. And the Eagles have paid top dollar for backups these past few years, and this year it paid off for them. So, I mean, I really don't know what they're going to do. I mean, Roseman and Peterson gave a typical GM head coach response when asked about it, saying that, obviously we want to keep him, but we have to explore all options, which, is what you expect. I mean, honestly, I think I can see them letting the QB market in free agency play out and see what teams still need when heading into the draft. The Bills say they want Tyrod. Don't know how true that is. The Cardinals are an interesting team at 15 because the 4 quarterbacks, Mayfield, Rosen, Allen, and Darnold may not be there by the time the Cardinals pick, so they're a possible trading partner. So I think it really depends on what the market dictates. And, this year is certainly interesting for QBs, whereas in years past, you probably could have gotten the 1st and 4 right off the bat for Foles. So, I mean, we'll see.
I can't imagine you'll get all that much for Foles just because of the amount of quarterbacks out there. I mean, maybe you get more for him as the season goes on, but as far as before training camp, I can't see a huge return for him.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Eagles are how adamant they are about keeping him. I mean, we've seen reports already come out that they're looking to restructure Vinny Curry's deal, or else they're thinking about releasing him. The dominoes are starting to fall. They got to re-sign Nigel Bradham, and Howie Roseman's big on replenishing young talent and having the draft picks to do that. And the Eagles just don't have that this year. They have the 32nd pick in the draft, and they don't draft until the end of the 4th round. That's 2 rounds. They're not drafted on Friday, which I know Howie Roseman does not like. So he's obviously going to try to do something to get draft picks, whether it be trading back from that 32 spot and getting 2 2s or a 2 and a 3. But, obviously looking at the Eagles situation, you have to keep your roster replenished so you have the chance of repeating. And right now with their salary cap situation, it's a tough position to be in.
And I'm just curious because I've seen the talk about Jason Peters, his contract situation. Are you even touching that? Are you going to him and pretty much saying it's a pay cut or you're gone?
Yeah, it's tricky. And obviously want to make sure he's there health wise, and nothing seems to indicate that he isn't. And Peters, it's a big cap hit. They're already losing Burton. Looks like they're probably going to lose Vinny Curry. You don't know what you're going to do with Brent Selleck. Torrey Smith are probably going to cut. Jason Peters is interesting. I mean, Vaitai didn't play bad at all last year. He had, the one bad half against the Panthers. That really is the only poor performance that really sticks out in terms of Vaitai's performance the entire season once Peters went down. So I don't think Vaitai is necessarily the answer. I don't know that I trust him long term at left tackle. But given how he played, if you can keep the rest of the offensive line intact and have Vaitai at left tackle, I don't think that's a bad situation to be in. But obviously, if you have the chance to bring back a Hall of Fame left tackle, you do it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't really want to talk about football contracts if I'm being honest, but I'll let you guys do your Eagles thing.
Oh, well, I feel like you have an interesting contract situation going on.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to talk about football contracts.
Did you see the tweet tonight?
What tweet?
Him tweeting about how much he loves Pittsburgh and wants to be there for his entire career and how they helped raise him.
Such garbage. I like my stance on this is what it always has been, which is either get him a long-term deal or trade him. I don't care which it is, but you got to do one of the two.
It's really going to be a shame when he walks away with no compensation.
They can't do that. As long as what's the rule? How many times can you franchise tag someone?
Is it 3?
3. So they do this one more time and he's gone.
Yep.
if they, I don't even know if he'll play under it this year, but let's say they franchise tag him this year, he plays under the tag. What?
Nothing. Just laughing at the scenario you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I like him, but I mean, he's kind of a head case. So is Antonio Brown. I mean, I'd be down for trading either of them. I just don't want to go through this every year, if I'm being honest. And I'm all for him getting his money. It's not like I'm just blindly taking the side of the owners, but this is not like a sustainable model for the yearly cycle.
I mean, I think it's obviously in the Steelers' best interest to keep him and make sure a long-term deal gets done, because that's been the strength of the Steelers. They capable of putting up 35+ points every game, and Bell's obviously a stud when he plays all 16 games. But you also have to look at the situation right now with Saquon Barkley. I don't get how the pendulum has swung into a situation where now the Browns are considering taking him at number one. I think
they absolutely should take him number one overall.
No, they shouldn't.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Why not?
Would you? No, you don't draft a running back number one overall.
Who do you think they should take?
They should draft a quarterback.
That is an asinine rule.
Whichever court, it's not an asinine rule. The reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers have been consistent AFC Championship contenders is because of Ben Roethlisberger, not because of Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown. It's because of Ben Roethlisberger.
Ben Roethlisberger was awful this year.
Wait, no, it wasn't. What are you talking about?
He was
She would get the AFC final game against the Giants. He balled out.
Oh, I didn't watch that game.
Yeah, watch that game.
Okay, as far as the draft goes, here's what happens. If you draft Saquon Barkley number one overall, then the Giants don't know what to do. They have to trade out. If they don't find anyone to trade out, I guess they take one of the quarterbacks. Either way, the Giants and Colts.
I 100% want the Giants not to go quarterback.
The Giants and Colts are most likely not taking quarterbacks. So if they can't find suitable trade partners that will, then you end up with your choice of quarterback at 4. You end up with Saquon Barkley and one of the quarterbacks. So you can potentially have that Dak Prescott Ezekiel Elliott combo. Because if you look at Saquon Barkley, he's built and has had the type of college career similar to some of the better running backs that have been in the NFL.
I'm not doubting that Barkley's a talented player. He's a good running back, but if you just look at the numbers, he was really dependent on big plays last year. He did not do what he had less than 3 yards per carry in 3 games, one of those games being Rutgers. Only had more than 20 carries 3 times. So he hasn't shown that he's been the full workhorse 3-down back. He's more. Joel Klatt made this good point on the herd today. He's more of Christian McCaffrey than he is of Leonard Fournette. You're going to use him in special teams. You're going to use him, out wide, split him out, get him involved in the passing game. But you can't depend on him to carry the ball 20, 25 times a game. And it'd be absolutely ludicrous to pick him number one overall. The Browns need a quarterback. They're not going to be relevant until they get the quarterback. And
what quarterback do you take number one? Is it A, Josh Allen, who is tall and can throw the ball?
Okay,
and can throw the ball very far.
Yes, we know Josh Allen's tall.
Sam Darnold. I don't know what to say. I don't think he'll even be all that good.
He's well safe.
Josh Rosen is probably the safest option, but probably a relatively low ceiling when you're looking at all of them. And then I guess you have Baker Mayfield, which I love Baker Mayfield, but he should be going number one. I think you could take Baker Mayfield later on in the first round.
The Browns have done a good job at not tipping their pick and what they're doing, because the last thing you want to do when your number one pick is definitely like announce to the world like we're only looking at quarterbacks, because then the team picking behind you knows what you're doing and can plan for that. Whereas, like you said, like if they were to throw teams off and pick Barkley, or if they were to take a Fitzpatrick, or maybe they pick Chubb and have him on the opposite end of Miles.
Fitzpatrick.
I'm just saying, like my point is they've done a good job of make of not tipping their pick, which is smart. Which you want to hold the cards as the number one pick. I just think if you don't pick your guy, the QB you think's the best at number one, you're risking him not being there at 4. And you made a good point. Like they pick Barkley, you're forcing the Giants to trade back if they wanted Barkley and they don't want to take a quarterback, which I think it's ludicrous. The Giants aren't picking a quarterback. Eli Manning's washed. And I, as an Eagles fan, I hope they pick Barkley. I hope they don't pick
but my thing is, are you anti taking a quarterback, taking Barkley number one because the Browns don't need Barkley, or because it's the number one pick?
A combination of both.
So what I'm saying is, you're okay with the Giants taking him at 2, but you're not okay with the Browns taking him at 1.
I'm not okay with the Giants picking him at 2. Look, I am a big believer. You guys know I'm a big analytics guy. And if you look at the numbers, the Jaguars' running back production without Leonard Fournette was just as good, and in some instances better, between T.J. Yeldon and Chris Ivory. And if you look at the two teams who played in the Super Bowl, they had an all-pro running back production between running back platoon. It's all about coaching and QB play. You don't need a stud running back to win in the NFL.
I agree with that.
If you look at how Leonard Fournette and Ezekiel Elliott have elevated the play of Dak Prescott and Blake Bortles, I think it would be very much to the advantage of the Browns taking Saquon Barkley and being able to pair him with either Josh Allen or Josh Rosen or potentially Baker Mayfield.
I'm not going to claim to be an expert on the Cleveland Browns offensive line. So I'm just going to make this statement, and then you guys can fight me for it. But aside from Joe Thomas, what is there to block for Saquon Barkley? Because I know for a fact Elliott definitely benefited from
Iona just threw down Noob. It was fantastic with like 30 seconds left. They were trying to foul this guy, and he just threw up an oop. It was fantastic.
So the Browns' offensive line isn't actually as bad as you would think it would be for being the Browns. But the whole thing that Fournette and Elliott elevated at QBs is just a myth. The Jaguars' running back production last year in 3 games.
Did you see Blake Bortles last year versus Blake Bortles this year?
The Jaguars finally discovered that you should actually help Bortles out, and it took a 10.
Or what about Dak Prescott with Zeke versus without Zeke?
How about Zeke with that offensive line, without that offensive line? That offensive line wasn't that good this year, and Zeke wasn't as good. It's a myth.
Okay, but I'm talking about the quarterbacks. I'm not talking about the running backs.
Well, I mean, you have. I believe we've used the term before: regression to the mean. Dak Prescott.
Okay, now you're speaking that nerd language, and I don't appreciate that.
Dak Prescott's average. That's what happened. I'm also being told by Jason Cantor, since he is our one viewer right now.
Wait, hold up. Why is he viewing and he's not on the program?
I don't know. Regardless, we should talk about the possibility of the Browns taking 2 quarterbacks, because it'd be a Cleveland thing to do.
I don't think that's an awful taking quarterbacks at 1 and 4.
It's very dumb. It's very dumb.
I'd be okay with them taking a quarterback at some point and then trading either up into the late first round or trading down to the late first round, and taking like Baker Mayfield. I think that'd be a fine strategy. But
it'd be so dumb and it shouldn't even be talked about.
Here's my point. I think that in the NFL, if you don't have a quarterback, you should be drafting a quarterback every single year until you have.
And what don't the Browns have?
A quarterback.
So why would you pick a running back number 1 overall? It's stupid. It's asinine.
Because you have the 4th overall pick. Are you kidding me?
But at the 4th overall pick, your guy may not be there. If you don't have a quarterback,
if they have a
guy, I don't work for the Cleveland Browns. I'm just telling you.
Here's my point. I don't think any of those guys are that much better than the others. I think Josh Rosen is the safest, even though I don't think he's going to be all that good. I think Baker Mayfield is probably going to be the best quarterback in this draft. But point being, at 4, you can get your choice of if you take Barkley and the Giants and Colts don't find suitable trade partners, you can get your pick of quarterback there. Or if you don't, you can get whichever. If you like a quarterback there, you can take him. Or you can trade down and get a Baker Mayfield, a Lamar Jackson, I think Lamar Jackson's going to be pretty good in the NFL too. Or Mason Rudolph, or whoever the other guys you like. Isn't there a guy from Memphis I really like?
Yeah, we could go back to old BTB
Riley
Now.
Ferguson. Riley Ferguson.
Yes, Riley Ferguson.
Yeah, that's the name.
Or you can stock up on some more assets and wait it out for Jake Fromm, next year or the following year.
Whoa, okay, wait, hold up. We started this conversation
Because I think Jake Fromm is going to be better than all.
If I'm in the NFL and I don't have a quarterback, I'm drafting a quarterback every year until I get a quarterback.
Yeah.
And then we ended this conversation
obviously you wouldn't go to the draft without picking a quarterback, but I think it's fine picking. I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to go in the first round. I think you can take Lamar Jackson whenever.
Also, AJ McCarron to the Browns, pretty much guaranteed. Lock it up. It's happening.
That's how
I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets miss out on Kirk Cousins and overpaying for AJ McCarron. Or was that reported? I missed it.
I saw something about Hugh Jackson really wanting AJ McCarron.
Oh, okay. In that case, sure. But
the report was that as of today, it's looking like Cousins to Minnesota, Keenan to Denver, and McCarron to Cleveland. That was the report.
Wait, who did Minnesota?
Kirk.
And then who did the Jets?
No one.
This might be a little crazy, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways. That leaves Minnesota with. Is Bradford gonna go back if those two leave, or if they? Oh no! Wait, did you say Cousins to Minnesota?
Well, then Minnesota can trade up with the Colts or the Giants
and Cousins to
get
Minnesota.
Josh Allen.
I just love the idea of whatever team Bradford's on when he inevitably gets hurt at the end of the preseason, ending up having to trade for Foles. It's just a little NFL fan fiction I've created in my head.
I don't think Bradford has gotten more love in NFL circles than he should. I don't know what team's seeing him, but he shouldn't be a starting quarterback.
I mean, he shouldn't be. He's not safe. Well, the problem is you can't have Sam Bradford as your backup. He's too fragile to be your backup.
Yeah, but he can't be your starter either.
Well, then what is he?
I think Sam Bradford's a fine start. I think there's probably at least 30 quarterbacks better than him, but I think he's fine as a starter.
If the Jets find themselves in a situation where they don't want to overpay for McCann, they don't think they can get Cousins, and they want to just have Bradford as a 1 year, 2 year bridge guy while they figure out the QB situation, then that's fine.
I mean, for a team like that where you're not planning on being good, but in the off chance that you have a good season and could contend, you might as well have a relatively capable quarterback. I think Sam Bradford's a fine option. Obviously, it wouldn't be for a team like the Vikings who have a pretty good team, but for a team like the Jets or the Browns or the Cardinals, I think Bradford's a good option.
People forget that the Jets still have Christian Hackenberg waiting to take the reins. Just wanted to point that one out to all of you. What a great second-round pick.
Hackenberg, he's talented. He's very talented.
Yeah, right.
Addison, I do want to ask you though, who do you think is the best quarterback coming out
of the class this year? Who's the best quarterback this year?
Yeah. No, the class of 2022.
It's right. I mean, I don't like to look at the whole. I think the combine is useful.
No, it's not.
But at the same time, no, you didn't let me finish my sentence.
I did not, and I don't intend to.
It's useful depending on what you're looking for, but I feel like it's overvalued. It's overhyped, and
it's so really, overhyped.
It really isn't necessary. Especially, I think protos are more valuable because you get the guys do more, and you can really, you just gotta watch tape. That'll really show you everything. I mean, from what I've heard, Mayfield is the best in terms of IQ. Allen obviously has the physical tools you'd want, and history shows that QBs from smaller colleges tend to have a higher success rate just based on having to make tighter throws, not having the stud wide receivers that bail them out that past USC quarterbacks have had. but I think Darnold's different than, like the Sanchez and the Liners. I think he's more polished both on and off the field.
Did you just see Liner?
Matt Liner, he got drafted high.
Yeah, he did. I still think that the Texans would have been better off drafting Matt Leinart than Mario Williams.
Yeah, I mean, obviously better off drafting a quarterback because the quarterback changes your franchise more than a defensive end does. But I mean, it really depends on the team for me. I don't think this is a QB draft class where you say this guy is the best and he should be picked one, or he should, if he's on the board, you take him no matter what. I think it's a really situation.
But I'm saying, like, gun to your head, who's the best quarterback?
I went with Baker Mayfield.
Okay. For me, it's a toss-up between Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen because I've been on both hype trains for so long.
Yeah,
but realistically, the Steelers don't have a shot at Josh Allen, so I would very much like Baker Mayfield.
It's for me. It's Mayfield or Darnold.
I think Darnold is going to be garbage.
Darnold's a project.
I think he's going to be.
I mean, I think you can make the argument that none of these that all these guys would benefit from watching from a year. I think Allen more so than the other guys. I think out of all the ones, I think Allen's the least NFL ready and would benefit more from going to a team like Denver and maybe sitting behind Keenum for you. Not like Keenum's would be the best, mentor or anything.
Who do you want to mentor you in the beginning of your pro career? Case Keenum. I want to learn from him.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think Allen, if Denver drafted him, he would benefit from just watching for a year as opposed to being fire.
I see what you mean. It's just the situation is funny.
Everyone said that the Jags don't play Bortles right away. Let him watch for a year. And then Bortles played well in the preseason, and they rushed him back. And we finally saw this year that
I don't think that's a great idea when you don't have a capable quarterback. What's the point in? I mean, granted, Blake Bortles is already finished, but what's the point in having a guy sit behind Chad Henne for a year?
It's all situational. I don't think you can just say this is the way to do it.
I'm in favor of that strategy typically, but when they're just watching some guy who's usually not as good as them, I don't think that serves them in any way.
Well, it's not necessarily. You're not necessarily serving them by letting them watch the QB in front of them. You're helping them in terms of digesting the information, learning the playbook, learning different concepts that a QB may have to deal with in a given game. And it's not like these guys are just going up to the line of scrimmage, calling the play and rolling with it. They got 3 or 4 different audibles. Calling an NFL play isn't easy. Goff had problems with that. If you watched part of Hard Knocks, he was having trouble just calling the plays early on in training camp. I just think certain guys who may not be up there from an football IQ standpoint, would benefit from just sitting back and digesting an NFL season before they get thrown under the fire. Because the last thing you want to do is throw a guy out there who isn't ready mentally for the game and then also struggles physically because now he has nothing going for him.
That, and I would also say just the whole experience of just being in the NFL and what it takes to be an NFL player. I know I'm going to credit part of my take with this, but listening to Johnny Manziel talk about what he was doing at the beginning of his career versus when they actually tried to sit him down and help him out, it just sounds like there's a lot where you can just sit back and learn. Whereas if you're, thrown into the fire day one on a team that's probably not that good anyways, you're just trying to play, 5 steps ahead of where you should be. Because the expectation is if you're drafted high at this point, you're going to come in, and it's been set by quarterbacks before who in their own right have been very good, who come in and all of a sudden the franchise changed. They go to the playoffs within the first year, the first 2 years. And that's not the reality for every quarterback. And I think forcing that upon quarterbacks is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
Stupid Andrew Luck, RG3.
And I think Wentz was a situation where if he was the guy the entire offseason and everyone knew he was going to be the guy heading into the season, he would have had a better rookie year. But he obviously wasn't getting those reps with Bradford on the team. I think he would have had a better rookie season, and you obviously saw what he did this year. It was the NFL MVP before he got hurt. So it's definitely possible for guys to go in there under the right circumstances and perform at a high level early on. But it's situational. Not all guys can do that. You're talking about guys who have high football IQ, luck, Wentz. I mean, even RG3 does. And
I think RG3 should get it. Actually, I've changed my opinion on Sam Bradford. I think RG3 should get a shot before he does.
No, I would rather do that than sign a guy what he's going to do. He's going to play 13. He's going to play 13 to 14 games if his knee's fine heading into the season, with possibility of not playing half the games. And you're going to go 8-8, 7-9 at best. That's what's going to happen.
Was that Bradford we were talking about?
Bradford.
Yeah, okay. I agree on that one. But I'm all for RG3 getting another chance, not just for the content that it would bring for me, but just in general. I would love to see that happen. I doubt it ever does. I'm all on the Manziel hype train right now. Comeback season is real.
I'm a big fan of his, and I have been for a little while. But I do hope. I don't think the Steelers ever give him a shot, but I would really like to see him in the NFL because I think that like from what I saw of him on the Browns, I think there was really something there. I don't think that was exaggerated.
Also, while we're on the QB topic right here, I know you're drafting some random quarterback that you'll fall in love with 2 weeks before the draft, Nick. That's kind of your deal with the Steelers. But
I'm just praying that they take a quarterback. That's always been my philosophy.
Addison, for you, if Nick Foles is to be traded, are you okay with Sudfeld as the number 2?
I mean, you haven't really seen him play. For me, it's really contingent on what's the deal with Wentz. I don't want the Eagles to do to Wentz what the Redskins did to RG3. Rush him back. He doesn't play the same. Wentz depends on his escapability. Kind of that Rodgers ad lib, make something out of nothing type of ability that made Wentz, the MVP through 13 weeks. And if Wentz isn't ready to be that guy, I wouldn't. There's no point in rushing him out there. Can Sudfeld be capable for a month? I mean, sure. I mean, Peterson's a smart offensive coach, so he'll figure it out. He'll figure out how to go 2-2, 3-1 with Sudfeld at QB. But obviously, I'd rather have the guy that just won the Super Bowl. That's just my personal opinion. I'd rather have a guy that won the Super Bowl MVP and played probably the best football we've ever seen for a championship game Super Bowl out of any QB. And that's the one thing I fear with Carson Wentz is him coming back and not ever being the same guy, because these ACL injuries can change people. We saw Mariota this entire season not play the way that got Mariota picked second overall in the NFL draft because of an injury, because of a knee injury. Like these can significantly alter how a quarterback plays, and I don't want Wentz to come back and fear that happening again. Not that I think he would, but I don't want that to be in the back of his head, and I don't want him to think that he's just limited to standing in the pocket.
No, I 100% agree with that. When he's ready, he's ready. I'm not so sure I'm comfortable seeing Sudfeld in the first month of the season. But obviously that's the coach's call, not mine, so I'll sit back here and just comment on Twitter about it. And for Mariota, we're not going to touch that. That's still a sore subject on my part. So.
Well, see, here's the difference.
Mariota guy again?
I'll let you answer that right before. Unless you want me to comment before you answer that.
What did Nick say?
He asked why you're a fan of him. Big fan.
Why are you such a big Mariota guy?
Well, you see, back in the day when Charles Kelly roamed the sidelines, I was Oregon football excited me. It was a good deal.
The Philadelphia Ducks. I do remember that.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Ducks were a thing. And I never was really big on bringing Mariota to Philly. I didn't think we needed to trade all that much. I didn't want to trade everything up to get to Mariota. However, I did really like Mariota as a player, and I thought he was the better alternative to Jameis Winston. And I know Addison didn't agree with me on that, and probably still doesn't. I saw.
You think Jameis Winston's better?
I think they're both. Well, at the time, I would have preferred Winston over Mariota, but I think they're both busts at the moment.
Bust?
And
Yes,
Mariota's a bust.
Mariota has not been good in the NFL. No, he hasn't.
Mariota has most definitely been good in the NFL.
No, he hasn't. He has not been good at all.
Maybe because you're going off numbers.
I
Have you
think
watched him play?
I did watch him play. He was not good at all. He was unimpressive.
Mariota
Strong
has had more runs of subpar football than successful football, and as much as I want to attribute that to injuries and the horrid coach that they just fired for a defensive mind, for some reason, it's a tough topic here. It's a really tough topic because I still think he's got the potential to be fantastic in this league.
His rookie season was fantastic.
This is the point I was making.
This season was but I wouldn't say he's a bust.
This is the point I was going to make before you went on a little tirade there, way, and I definitely think you can blame injuries. You know, he didn't have any mobility this year because of his knee injury. He was hindered. But now I was gonna make this point. Like the difference between Wentz and Mariota is, I think if Wentz came back and was limited with his mobility, he's a better pocket passer than Mariota is, and thus I think Wentz would play at a higher level without his escapability than Mariota did this year. So I don't think it'd be the end of the world if Wentz came back and didn't play the same way for the first month or so. And I think the Eagles would obviously still be able to win games with him just being a strictly pocket passer.
I think obviously you're right. 100% right on that.
He was going to be an NFL MVP because he was able to make something out of nothing. So I think, if you're the Eagles, you want to put Wentz in a situation where you can come back and be that guy right away.
Carson Wentz, pure pocket passer versus Marcus Mariota, pure pocket passer. Carson Wentz, 100 times out of 100 wins in that one. Even with the mobility, I still think Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Marcus Mariota. And I know that's
sorry, you finish your point.
That's not a hot take in the slightest. Carson Wentz is just better than Marcus Mariota. However, I do think there's a lot of untapped potential in Mariota that we're probably never going to see. I've kind of accepted it at this point.
I agree.
I think we mentioned the injuries, which obviously are a pain. But the coaching, I'll never understand it, and I understand this Berg's Bell, so we don't have to talk what's going on in Tennessee. But I'll never understand why first off, Mike Mularkey, why? That's a great start. And then after that, deciding the best thing for a team with a young quarterback is bringing in a defensive line. But beyond me, what do I know?
Just out of curiosity, what kind of return do you think you get for Carson Wentz?
If you traded him right now?
If he's cleared to play and you trade him. I don't know why this just popped into my head, but I think I might be if I got a good return for Carson Wentz, I think I'd trade him.
Oh, you probably get 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a fourth. Or if the Eagles even wanted a player instead, like a linebacker, I don't know. The Eagles aren't going to do that. It'd be asinine.
I'd take 3 first-rounders, a second, and I don't know what your position of need is, but I guess a linebacker.
Yeah, you're not getting that.
What do you mean? Why not?
Did you see the way his leg went? And did you hear us talk about how much of a quarterback market there is right now? I get how great Carson Wentz is, but you're not going to get teams to mortgage 4 draft picks and a
team like the Browns or someone else with poor management just going off the hype of Carson Wentz. I think you can rip him off before he comes back from the injury, and then stay with an established quarterback with Nick Foles, and you reload with all those draft picks.
I'm not going to go through your old Nick Foles takes again, but I mean established. Close your ears, Addison, right here for the brand. Close them for the ears. When we're talking established quarterbacks for Nick Foles, I'm so set on bringing back Carson Wentz, who's younger, who's shown that he is a much better quarterback than Nick Foles. And Nick Foles hasn't shown that he can sustain this for greater than one stretch of time. Now, granted, I will give you the Jeff Fisher effect in what was it at that point? Are they still in St. Louis? Regardless, Jeff
Yeah.
Fisher.
No, Foles was in Los Angeles.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was. Foles Angeles. Do you not remember this?
He was on the roster, but they traded him. They cut him before training camp.
Oh. Whatever.
So
I mean,
that's just where I am.
Listen, I obviously am probably one of the bigger Foles stands.
You think?
In the world. But you obviously got to go to Wentz when he's healthy. That's obvious. That's a duh situation. Yeah, he invested. He's number 2 pick in the draft. If he's healthy, you're gonna play him. He was the MVP last year before he got hurt. But
you know who else was the number 2 pick in the draft?
Mariota.
RG3.
No, RG3 was too. Yeah, obviously. But I feel like I was in a lot of debates between the end of the regular season and Atlanta game about Foles. And a lot of, I would say, 99.9% of the Eagles fans wanted to start Sudfeld, and a lot of beat reporters were entertaining the thought of starting Sudfeld, and it was ridiculous. It was asinine, and they ended up just being laughably and embarrassingly wrong. And I got a lot of joy out of stealing people's pride away from them. I could have bet a lot of money on the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, and instead I had people's pride, and that I find more joy in walking around, people looking at me and saying, "Yes, you were wrong, and I was right about Nick Foles," and it just brings me joy. And I'm going to tell you, Nick Foles has been an above-average quarterback in the NFL when he's been with any coach but Jeff Fisher, which the same can be said about a lot of other QBs who have played for Jeff Fisher. And if he gets traded elsewhere to an offensive coach or a team that has a good offensive staff, he's gonna play well. It's just a fact. He's gonna play well. And if it happens, it happens. If he's in Philly next year and starts the first month and is there in case Wentz goes down again, knock on wood, then he stays in Philly. That's just the reality of the situation.
All right, there's that. We spent about 50 minutes talking, I would say more than 50 minutes talking football outside of football season. So I'm going to shift gears here to a sport that Nick absolutely loves. I know he's a big NBA guy. So we want to open up with the Sixers. Yesterday, brutal. How are you feeling on this one, Addison?
Yeah, it was a bad loss, especially on like a national TV. I don't want to choke away 2 big leads like that. But listen, they're only 2.5 back of the 3 seed right now. The East is tight. They're 9-3 in their last 12 games. They have the easy schedule remaining in the NBA. They'll be playing 11 out of 17 of their last games at home, and they haven't lost at home in 2018. I think the Sixers are fine. It's bad loss. You don't want to playoff teams. You don't want to lose those types of games in the playoffs. But the Sixers are fine. They'll be fine. They'll get between, I think, a 4 and a 6 seed, depending on how the rest of the season plays out in the East. But they're a young team, and they played really well as the season has progressed without the number 1 pick. And you obviously see the areas where Foles could help, where they struggle with the most. They don't, they at times don't have a dependent guard who can score. They struggle creating space in that regard and spacing the floor. And you can only depend on Embiid spacing the floor with his three-pointing ability, with his shooting ability, so much within a given game. But they'll be fine. And hopefully Fultz comes back at some point and we start to see what he could possibly do if his shot ever gets fixed. But I'm not going to overreact to one bad loss on national TV. It's just ridiculous to do.
I mean, I'm if you followed me at all, I'm not that way either. I'm not firing Brett Brown after last night. I would like to take the moment to remind everyone that we are against firing Brett Brown.
I am firmly against firing Brett Brown. I do think, however, that the East playoffs are going to be pretty interesting because I can tell you right now, I don't trust the Cavs, although the Cavs will probably make it to the finals if, I had to go with my gut. But the Celtics are not making it to the finals. The Raptors are not making it to the finals. So if the Cavs decide to beat Cleveland this year, I think the East is up for grabs. As far as the Sixers, the Bucks, whoever else wants to squeak in there. I think the East could actually be entertaining this year.
I think it's going to be really entertaining in the East. I mean, in the West, we already know what the conference finals is going to be, and we're all waiting for that kind of lead up to there. But I absolutely could see
Rockets in 4. 12 wins until the NBA Finals.
Oh my God!
Rockets.
Why? I find nothing likable about the Rockets.
What's not to like about them? There's everything to like.
James Harden, Chris Paul, Clint
Stats.
Capella.
Stats.
Oh, you're such a loser.
32-1 when James Harden, Chris Paul, and Clint Capella play this year. 32-1.
Okay. Clint Capella is still not who I thought he was. Chris Paul is just like the biggest jerk on the planet, and I just really don't like James Harden. So there's my analysis for you. I hate the Warriors just as much as the next guy, but I'll give them one more title before Klay Thompson leaves, because believe it or not, I think Klay Thompson is the most valuable player to that team.
I don't think Klay Thompson's going to leave, though.
You don't think he leaves?
They're already talking about a contract extension.
Oh, shows you how plugged in I am. I hope Klay Thompson leaves so there can be some intrigue in the West. But
the thing with the Warriors is
I'm still not going to watch the NBA until the playoffs anyway, so we'll see. And even then, I might not watch games other than the Sixers and the Western Conference Finals.
I mean, you're the Warriors. You made your money having these four guys and signing a bunch of vets to the minimum, and that wouldn't change it until it stops working.
I'll tell you right now, if the Sixers aren't in the finals, which I think there's a pretty good chance they aren't, I probably don't watch the finals.
I mean, we'll disagree there.
Unless the Bucks are in the finals, I'll watch the Sixers or the Bucks in the finals. I think that's it.
All right. That was pretty much what I expected out of you. That was 100% on brand with what you think of the NBA. But in all seriousness,
that was serious.
No, I understand that was serious.
Okay.
Except your Rockets analysis was Chris Paul is a jerk. I don't like James Harden, and Clint Capella is not the man I thought he was.
He's genuinely not the man I thought he was.
But I personally, I'm pulling for the Rockets because the Rockets, a win for the Rockets for me is a win for the stats, and I would love nothing more than
as
for the
Josh
stats
Allen told us, the wise young man from Wyoming. He taught us all a valuable lesson, and that's stats are for losers. So, if you want to be a loser for the rest of your life, go ahead. But
it's wrong. It's the wrong analysis.
I don't watch sports to put numbers in a spreadsheet.
Listen,
that's how sports teams are made, though.
Is it though?
Yes.
Is it really? Because I think if you talk to one Jeffrey Fisher, he would tell you a vastly different story.
Yes, Jeffrey Fisher is unemployed right now.
Really?
He's a very bad head coach.
Need I remind you that he once went to a Super Bowl
and lost, and he hung on to that one Super Bowl appearance for his entire career. He made his money off of 3 above-average seasons in Tennessee. He's terrible.
Okay, but you know who else lost the Super Bowl?
Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick, greatest coach of all time.
Yeah, Belichick won 5.
Okay. And
you can't. I mean, I have seen.
How many Super Bowls has Belichick lost?
I love Big Cat.
How many has Jeff Fisher lost? 1.
Love Big Cat PFT. Listen to the podcast, but
I'm not even talking about that.
It's satire and comedy.
I'm just talking. Not even Jeff Fisher, but you don't think there's a big portion of NFL coaches and front office guys that are like anti-stats, anti-metrics and analytics and whatever you want to call it.
Those guys don't win.
They
don't win. They just don't win.
Okay.
They don't win.
Do you think Nick Saban's a metrics guy when he's looking at recruits?
And I'm sure there's more analytics that go into Alabama than you think. And also, when you have arguably the best recruiting class every single season, and you have the best players, you're going to win games. Just how it goes. It's just how it goes. Look at the NBA. The teams that win are generally the teams that have the better players. Teams use analytics to exploit possible mismatches and give themselves the best chance of winning. When you aren't able to have a team with Curry, Thompson, Green, and Durant. But what Gruden said the other day shows you that he's going to be a bust as a head coach. He's not going to be good. The Raiders aren't going to be good. And that division basically is for the Chiefs, the Chargers. Who else plays out there? The
Broncos.
The Broncos, yeah. The Raiders aren't going to be relevant if Gruden's going to have that 1998 mentality. And Gruden wasn't even that good of a coach either.
Care to comment?
Oh, that was a question.
I figured
I don't think Gruden's going to be a very good head coach, but that's because I find John Gruden to be severely lacking in intelligence. Not because he doesn't look at numbers the way Addison does, but that's just me.
I think John Gruden, the television personality, far in a way is much better than John Gruden, the coach. I think
I hate both of them. So
I think he's done a fantastic job building up the personality as the coach. But the more and more I listen to him, the more and more I think that we are going to be laughing hysterically at this contract in like 4 years, maybe even not that long. Man, I might be overestimating how long this can go, like this can last, given the dynamics of the Raiders organization.
Yeah, it was a bad contract. It was just a bad decision to hire him in the first place. It was a splash move by a team that's moving to Las Vegas and wants some firepower or star power while they make the move. But the star power could have run out by the time they even make it. And look, to go back to the whole analytics thing, it's just scouts and old school thinkers just come up with reasons not to draft players, and it's ridiculous. You look at Shaquem Griffin, perfect example. Guy doesn't have a hand. Scouts will come, he doesn't have a hand. Can't draft him. And his play has shown otherwise. It's just a flawed way of thinking to look at how a guy throws or how a guy runs or he doesn't. I don't like his swing. It's nonsense. It's garbage. It's a garbage way of thinking to not factor in numbers and performance. It's like the line in Moneyball. This is one of my favorite lines in Moneyball. The guy says to Billy Beane, "He's got a nice swing." Well, he's got a nice swing, then why doesn't he hit? Doesn't matter how a guy looks. He doesn't produce. He doesn't produce. It's all about the numbers.
Hey, people forget that Dominic Brown was a 5-tool prospect.
Dominic Brown, can't miss. Didn't trade him for Roy Halladay because he can't miss prospect. Yeah, okay. Pulled his head out, popped up, stunk, had one good month. Whoop-de-doo.
So how many championships did Billy Beane win?
And oh my God, you want to do this argument too? Because I can do this argument too. You got D'Antoni, Billy Beane, and you could even say Chip Kelly to an extent. Guys who bring a new idea to a sport. The revolutionary never wins. It's the people who take.
What did D'Antoni bring? Not playing defense?
What are you crazy? The Warriors basically are a copycat of D'Antoni's spread it out, shoot three system. They just have better players and play defense. The 04-05 Suns team revolutionized the way basketball is played. That team is the reason why basketball at the collegiate and NBA level is played the way it is. Because of D'Antoni. He got Steve Nash won 2 MVP awards in an era when you had Kobe, Shaq, Tim Duncan, LeBron on the rise, and Steve Nash won 2 MVPs because of Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni changed basketball.
Steve Nash was a pretty talented player.
He was, and he was elevated by Mike D'Antoni. You got Billy Beane, who changed the way that constructing a baseball roster is done. Theo Epstein in Boston take his ideas and win 3 championships because they were a higher market and had money. Look, you're not just going to win purely based on numbers. You have to have the money to sign talented players. And I've always been the belief that you should have a mix of the two. But to assert that, because Billy Beane hasn't won in small market Oakland, that using analytics is a bad idea is asinine. It's stupid.
That wasn't the only argument I made, but
But I mean, you made a point. You made a point to ask whether or not Billy Beane had won, and
I mean, has he? I don't think. I think small market is not as much of an excuse as it was in 2003.
In baseball,
You have the lowest payroll in baseball. You're not going to win a World Series. Facts. It's just the facts.
I'm lost as to how.
Mike Trout.
I know Nick's been out of baseball since 2005, but I'm lost as to how.
Did the Royals not win a World Series?
Mike Trout going to move up the coast to California to sign a $5 million contract with the Oakland A's? I don't think so.
There's a team that should embrace some analytics.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
But we mentioned a flashy town by the name of Vegas, and that is how we're going to get into hockey here because the Golden Knights a little bit disappointing as of late, but I'm still riding.
Are they still in the lead for the President's Trophy?
They are at 89 points, and Nashville and Tampa Bay are at 93 and 94 respectively. So, like I said, a little bit of stumble as of late. We're a little stressed. However, Vegas, I'm sure the people have preoccupied themselves accordingly to deal with such stress.
Now, I have to ask you, what do you think about the Thomas Tatar trade?
I told you I thought it was an overpayment.
Because Thomas Vanek went for UC Jokinen and like a prospect I've never heard of. And yet you gave up a first, a second, and a third for basically an equal player.
Yeah, it was a gross overpayment. And like I didn't say this on this podcast. I was talking to my friend that enjoys hockey, and I said I wanted to own the draft for the next 3 years. That was the goal. I wanted every single draft pick for the next 3 years. So the fact you gave up a 1, 2, and 3 for someone who's not worth
those
a 1,
picks
2,
are
and
going to
3.
be pretty low. I think you have some decent picks coming up in this draft.
Oh, absolutely. They still have some decent picks. They're still doing when it comes to draft picks, they're still doing rather well for the place they're in right now. But I mean, I don't quite understand the forward move because as big as I am on the Golden Knights right now, I understand this team was not built this year to win a Stanley Cup. They were built as an expansion team. Therefore, your expectations should be still set as such. So trading away future draft picks for a guy that might help you get another round in the playoffs might like his impact isn't going to be like in the scope of the franchise. It's not going to be so great. Whereas if you have that first round pick or that second round pick to get someone that might end up impacting later on, I don't quite understand the logic behind it.
I have to disagree with you there because I think McPhee thinks they can win a Stanley Cup. Otherwise, he wouldn't give up that much for Thomas Tatar. He wouldn't have traded for Thomas Tatar at all. They would have sold at the deadline. But
well, I'm not saying to sell the team, but I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this roster is built to sustain and get you a Stanley Cup. I find it hard to believe.
First in your conference, or
second.
No, first in the division, second in the conference. So I think you're definitely buyers at the deadline, and I mean, hopefully, in terms of the Vegas perspective, that those picks are 31st overall and aren't all that valuable. So, I mean, I think I agree with you that it was an overpayment, but I don't see your logic in that they shouldn't have been pushing for Stanley Cup.
Well, I mean, you can push the Stanley Cup, but not for the overpayment to which you could damage the franchise in the future.
I don't think that, although I do think it's an overpayment for that player in particular, I don't think giving 3 low draft picks this year will really impact the franchise long term, especially considering you'll probably have whose first round picks do you have this year? You'll have lottery picks, right?
I would assume so. I have to go back and look. I can't give you that right now.
Okay, because if you have a shot at Rasmus Dahlin or Andrei Svechnikov, I mean that sets you up for a couple of years, you know.
All right. I do want to, aside from my adopted team, right now the Penguins are heading to overtime against the Flames.
Yep.
So guaranteed point out of that. Congrats. That pulls them within what 1 point. Pulls them in at least into a tie with the Flyers for second place in the Metropolitan.
And are the Flyers playing tonight?
They're not.
Okay.
So Flyers' next chance for that will be Not tomorrow night. Wednesday night against the Penguins
Sounds good.
at home.
Well, Wednesday I'll actually be at the. Oh wait, this Wednesday?
This Wednesday.
Oh, okay. I'll watch that. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I don't really care. Like how, as long as like the Penguins are gonna make the playoffs, I don't really care how it shakes out in terms of seeding. I'd prefer getting the Devils in the first round just so, closer proximity and easier to actually get to a game. I am, of course, rooting for Flyers collapse because I do see them as a bigger threat than the Devils. Which I think there's a good shot at that happening. But ultimately, like, am I scared of either team in the first round? No. Am I scared of Washington in the second round? No. I don't think I am. I'm actually all that concerned until we get to either Tampa or Boston in the conference finals.
I'm again going to tell you. I'll give you the summary this time. Flyers, Penguins, first round, heart-wrenching loss for the Flyers. Fans crying because I have heard way too much in the last week. I even heard more this week than I did the week before about the Flyers potentially making a run at the Cup, and I'm not at all convinced. And
I think they have a good team, but like they're not. I don't really see them as Cup contenders.
Yeah, this team doesn't scream Stanley Cup to me.
Obviously, like there's a bigger chance for anything to happen in the NHL than say the NBA, but it appears we've completely lost Addison with this hockey talk. But I think they have a good team. I just don't see them as Cup contenders. I think they're a much bigger than threat. I would say they're a bigger threat than the Devils, and they're a bigger threat than the Capitals as far as the Metro goes. And who's the other wild card at the moment? Columbus?
The other wild card, yes, it would be Columbus.
Yeah, I think the Flyers are way better than Columbus. So, I don't know about way better. I think they're better than Columbus, but yeah, I think the second best team in the Metro is probably the Flyers at this point. So,
you want to hear my Flyers insight?
Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
So I've always stood by the take that I'm a Flyers supporter, but not a Flyers fan. Obviously I'll watch the playoffs if they're in it. If the game's on, I'll watch it. If I have nothing else going on, and I've watched more games as of late. But look, they're not special. Like with the Eagles all year, you could kind of sense that this team's different than the previous teams. But the Flyers are just it's the same thing every year. And then this team isn't really different from that team.
You are welcome back on this show
last year.
anytime you want. You are welcome back anytime you want. Thank you very much. That's what I like to hear.
What did I say?
This team is nothing special. There's nothing about this team that screams this is anything different than what we've seen before.
Because you watch them, they'll win a few games in a row. Get excited, and then they'll do what they've done this past week, losing a shootout, typical, and get blown out and just completely outplayed from start to finish. This is just how the Flyers roll. They'll lose in the first round of playoffs. They're probably gonna make it this point. To lose in the first round in 6 or 7 games, and that'll be the end of it. And we'll do the same thing again next year.
Well, Addison Hunsker has just replaced Jason Cantor as the third man on this show.
That was talking hockey.
Yeah, I'm glad you agree with the take. The Penguins just won, so that moves the Flyers down to third place. Perfect positioning for when the Penguins end up taking the Flyers on in Game 7 in Pittsburgh and rip out Flyers fans' hearts all across the globe.
Across the globe, if they exist.
Well, I mean, technically, there's probably like one, like out in Harrisburg, and we have to like cater to him because he's not technically in Philadelphia. But that's all the hockey talk I got for you. I'm kind of over the hockey talk for right now because college basketball is.
I mean, you brought it up.
Yeah, well, I just want to point out that Vegas was still going strong. Yeah, this is March.
Oh, by the way, I am so out on Rothstein.
Why?
It is like
he's
I think it was funny, and it's just so tired.
That's the whole point.
No, it's not.
The joke's here. The point is here, and you're here. You're off the screen.
I don't think it's a joke.
It's a shtick.
No. There's a difference between.
There's no difference.
You can get tired of a shtick. When the joke is that it's tired, which I don't think is the case here. That's different.
No, it's a shtick, and it's what he said. He came to the play-by-play camps in North Jersey this summer, and said that like it's just about his brand. That's what he does. His Twitter picture is poor quality, and he's probably well aware that it's poor quality. But when you see that picture, you know it's him.
I think if he had the self-awareness to like develop that as a joke, he wouldn't still be tweeting out "Stay hungry, stay humble."
I mean, if you're
I think this man lacks self-awareness. His lack of self-awareness is comparable to that of huge MLB fan.
I think if you're gonna nitpick him to the point of
I'm not nitpicking.
stay hungry, stay humble tweets in the beginning of the morning. I mean,
I'm not nitpicking. Those are the only two things you associate with John Rothstein.
What? What are the two things?
This is March and stay hungry, stay humble.
No, that's not true at all.
That's what I associate him with.
That's
the only two things I know about John Rothstein.
No,
I didn't even know he worked for CBS until today.
So I don't see how you can blame him for you not knowing where he worked.
I'm not blaming him. I'm saying that I don't think it's ridiculous to think that those are the two things that are associated with him.
If we're talking about his market, like his target audience, I'm sorry, Nick, but I think you fall out of that target audience.
Yeah,
I resent that.
It's like you can't be the target for every brand.
Well, you know what? I think people should care about marketing to me.
No,
I think I'm important.
You can't. No, yeah.
Well, no.
Look, I don't expect people to market to me all the time. It's just you can't think that because you're outside of his target. It's like Barstool. People don't like Barstool and they have the right to not like Barstool, but Barstool is probably not marketing to them if they don't like it.
Okay, but like that's not my point. I'm just saying that me personally.
That is entirely your point.
I think This Is March has gotten to the point where it's tired. That's my opinion. You can have a different opinion. That's cool. I'm just saying.
You're not an avid college basketball.
I am now.
Yeah, why? Because it's March. That's the whole point.
No. I started in February. No,
you did.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
February is a poor man's March. It's all about March.
What?
You're paying attention to college basketball because March Madness is coming.
I'll have you know
because you're an average college.
I'll have you know I was born in the month of March. It's literally in my blood.
It's literally in your blood. I can tell you you won't be watching you won't be watching Eastern Tennessee State University and University of North Carolina
What are you talking about? Dude, I watched the entire Fairfield Iona game. You wouldn't
have watched that game in November. You're watching it because it's March.
No, I've watched plenty.
March.
Also, I'd like to put something out there. I know it's March, which means brackets are coming out, which means you might be inclined to spend a few dollars on it. But I want to remind all of you that this podcast does not endorse gambling in the slightest. If you do have a problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And actually, don't waste your money gambling. Just buy some more crypto because there's a big boom coming.
Gosh. You suckers. It's
in the next 4 days.
As soon as everyone starts talking about something, it's
what?
I said as soon as the whole point of the stock market is that average people aren't supposed to know the ins and outs of it. Once everyone starts talking about a stock or a certain fetish like cryptocurrency, then it's gonna go down.
That's what happened to Ripple. All the normies got in on it, and then it crashed. But
Happens.
but the normies have all been out since the great dip of 2018.
The great dip of 2000.
The first great dip of 2018, might I add.
No, it was the dip of 2018. I regret not getting in on it, but just because I didn't have the funds at the time. But yeah, you guys are all going to be wrong on this one. I hope you're. This may be the one W I take in my life, but I'm totally okay with that.
I've bought myself a few wrongs by being right about Nick Foles. I'm just going to leave that there.
Okay, well, I hope this is one of them.
All right. Just want to throw this out there. I know you personally haven't quite spent the time on this yet, Nick, but we do have AnyPod that is exploding in popularity by Berg's Bell standards.
Yeah.
And
how many? Does it have a whole lot of listeners?
Compared to what a typical Berg's Bell show does, they're doing pretty well.
Okay. I didn't know how you were able to track that on the thing, but I believe
it's a horrible website. Archive.org. If you work for them, please stop listening because we do like having our content up somewhere. But that website absolutely sucks.
I know it does, but it's a great. It's free, first of all, and it's one of the better options into getting it actually on the website without before getting it onto iTunes, which we could look into for AnyPod. I am more than open to working with those guys in getting their show on iTunes.
Now, I know you're into working with them, but I am getting the sense that you are currently in the process of launching your own podcast to rival that of AnyPod.
Yeah, nothing's confirmed yet. No guest or co-host or anything yet, but yeah, I might be working on something just because I feel like there are some voices that need to be heard, and not just the voice of huge MLB fan, who really dominates that show, even though Jason Cantor is supposedly the host. I'm not sure he really does that job effectively. But
I said this before. I said this before the first show. Huge MLB fan is the alpha.
Yeah.
The intern tries to play the role of an alpha, but is really a beta. And Jason just won't exist on that show.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an interesting dynamic. I enjoyed this week's installment, but mostly just because Cantor couldn't control huge MLB fan, and huge MLB fan is ridiculously unaware of how funny his lifestyle is.
I mean, we now have. Nobody cares about your fantasy team when it's football season, but when it comes to baseball season, I think a lot of people care even more. We've got our fantasy baseball season going, and I think huge MLB fan spent maybe 10 seconds thinking about the 8 people he wanted to play in this league and texted them within a drop of a hat. It was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I have my own concerns about huge MLB fan. I won't really get into those now, but yeah.
Well, his legitimacy of him.
No. I enjoy his content and everything, but I worry about his health sometimes, both mental and I guess his general well-being. But yeah, it's quite an interesting show, and we'll see if I'll be able to rival it with whatever I get going. Also, I should note that huge MLB fan just does not understand the concept of a parody account, even though he runs a parody account, which is quite the achievement there.
Props to him,
yeah.
Honestly. Props to him.
I genuinely think that's an accomplishment worth noting.
Yeah. All right. That's all I got for you. I got nothing else for this week.
Yeah. It's been pretty uneventful week.
It was good. Good show. Good show.
Thank you. I always appreciate the support. Addison, we always enjoy having you on. You kind of actually get to talk about sports most of the time, which is a nice change of pace from some people that have hated sports, have gone on to talk about their lifestyle, and then hated sports
That's
and love
the thing.
sports.
I've gone in less than, well, has it been a week or just less than 2 weeks? From going from hating sports to loving sports to now watching the entire. But I consider the MAC the real MAC, so I guess you would call this the mock tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched pretty much the entire mock tournament. I think I watched most of the Big Ten tournament. I may or may not be all in on Michigan. Also a big Xavier guy, and South Dakota State, huge sleeper as far as the tournament goes. But I'll be watching the rest of the tournaments and deciding my team going into it now that Wisconsin's out and the great Brad Davison, who may be the single greatest basketball player to ever live. So yeah, we'll see. But important to note that I now do not hate sports. So
That's fantastic. A plug again. We do not endorse gambling.
I said nothing of the sort.
I know. This is a plug. This is me segueing a little bit. This is a little business thing we do, segues. We don't endorse gambling. Like to point that out there. Always don't. However, there is a great bracket pool put on by Addison Hunsker that I know goes on the ESPN app again.
Which I definitely don't take part in.
Yeah, which us normal guys.
And Addison definitely doesn't host it.
I don't partake in any polls of any kind in March.
Yes. We're just saying
this
that
is
if
actually
you want
not
to see
March. This is all farce. This is fake news, much like the charges leveled against Arizona Sean Miller. I didn't get to that, but I just thought I'd throw that in there.
I just want to point out that if you want to see how your bracket stacks up against other people's, Addison Hunsker has a great bracket pool for you. Again, don't endorse gambling. I don't think anything of the sorts is going on during that.
The Addison Hunsaker bracket pool is not associated or affiliated with Addison Hunsaker in any way, shape, or form.
Very, very true.
Or BTB Now, or any Berksbell Sports
or
products.
any of its subsidiaries.
Yes.
And I just wanted to point out, while I respect the biz of making sure you are not endorsed with the things you don't want to be endorsed with, and as long as I'm on the show will also not endorse the 2-3 zone. Very important.
I can.
Doesn't Duke play the 2-3 zone?
They may or may not. No comment upon.
Hold on, you don't endorse the 2-3 zone yet. Your favorite team plays the 2-3 zone.
My favorite basketball team is actually 16-14 right now, and just lost bad loss to Tulsa yesterday. So.
They were down 24-0.
Yeah, they did not score until it was 24-0.
Nice. A lot to look forward to. Yes, I can let you stand on here on this podcast and say you don't endorse the 2-3 zone. I think I can agree with that statement.
I'm a fan of the 2-3 zone, honestly. Played it throughout high school. Never had a problem with it.
Yeah, just to finish closing the show, right?
Yeah. Thank you all for watching. All 0 of you. I hope you really enjoyed this one. It has been a great one. Thank you, Addison, for coming and joining us. We will be back probably the same time, maybe another night. I don't know. A week away is kind of a long time. But it will be BTB Now again. Until then, have yourselves a fantastic week.